What's up, man? Thanks for coming to the podcast.
What's going on, man?
Dude, I mean,
excited.
it's crazy. You're excited? It's your first time or what?
So I've done several,
Yes.
but nothing so finally at this point where you got it set up just like this.
See, I won't do Zooms. People always go
That's
like,
what
I'd love to do one. Let's hop on a Zoom.
Yeah.
I said, no Zooms. And they go, why not? I go, it's just not the vibe I
Yeah.
try to go for.
Yeah.
Like, it's like in-person vibe is like it's on another level. I think it's just more different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, it's like Zoom. I don't know. I don't do
No,
Zoom.
you got it set up correctly. During the pandemic is when I did the Zoom stuff.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of back in early 2000s, well, 1990s, when I was on the radio. Q104.7, Power 106.
Yeah.
And this is exactly how they were.
Isn't it crazy? Did you ever think there was gonna be a time like you could do this in someone's house, or just do this in like an office room? Like,
Just it's crazy you could do it from your room.
isn't that crazy?
The full setup.
The full setup.
The full setup.
And it's really not that expensive. I mean, like,
Right.
for what it takes to think what you can make and what you can put out, it's really like the investment in this and what it costs to get out.
Before all this started, you got to think we used to look at the equipment when you see snaps of the pictures of here and there in the radio stations, like how do they do it? But then all of a sudden, just 5-6 years ago, 7, all this became available.
I know, man. It's unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, and it doesn't even have to be like sometimes some people come in here and they'll be like, "Oh, I need it." I'm like, "Dude, you don't even need this nice. This is our like 5th run through." Like we used to go with like the cheaper mics, and then we did this. Like these mics, the only reason I bought these, like no lie, is because Joe Rogan has them.
Of course,
That's
that's what everybody.
That was the
I hope
only,
they paid him.
That's the only reason. Like I was going on for months. Like I want Joe Rogan mics. I want Joe. I will say the one thing they do work well with the arms because they're heavier.
Correct.
Our last mics would always go like this.
Yeah.
So you have to like hold up down.
But the quality of the sound.
It's
real quality.
It's good.
It's radio quality. And
it's radio quality. So what were you doing in the radio business?
DJing. I first started as a DJ like around maybe 14, 15 years old.
Oh yeah.
No broadcasting degree. Never went to school for it. The way you got in was just meet people at parties, clubs, and network. And that's just really my gift is networking.
Yeah.
So meeting DJs here and there, they're like, why don't you come on the radio?
Is that how you met T or no?
T, I met him, I want to say 8 years ago at the gym, LA Fitness.
Oh, really?
LA Fitness. And he just started talking to me. He said, hey, dude, I came out in that movie, Fighting Temptations. I said, what?
Yeah.
Totally looked different from then to when I
he was
met
way
him.
big.
Yeah, so we just became friends since, and then up until right before COVID is when we started doing together the music. Helping him get booked around the world. Then COVID shut that down.
Yeah.
But that's how I met him at
LA
Fitness.
I was wondering how you guys met. Yeah.
It's been a while. Man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's crazy. Like you said, it's all about connections. Like, I don't think people process like how important networking is. Like, I'm starting to learn. Like, you could do a level after you've learned your basic skills, and then it's like, who do you can get, and then whatever you can't know or don't know how to do, like someone knows how to do it, and they can connect you really quickly. Yeah, that's kind of like I feel like what we try to do around here. Like we'll have a lot of buddies that are small business owners, and they're like, I don't have like, dude, just come in here and we'll like do it for you, and then.
It'll always be who you know, man.
Exactly.
And if you don't ask questions, you will find out. But you can't ask a book a question. You can learn from there, get the knowledge until you put it into practice. But if you just ask one person, hey, how do I get this? How do I do this? Instantly get the answer.
Well, and the worst part about it is they also have gone down through the road of like knowing how not to do it. Right?
Exactly.
Like I tell everyone all the time, like when people, like I get hit up most for this stuff, and I'm like, hey, listen, dude, I'm like, do not do it this way. Don't do it this way. Don't do it this way. We've done it that way. Don't like, I want to run it to no, like this is the easiest way. Like we just run it to a Zoom. I was like, but I could run it through my laptop. It won't work as well. Just run it to a Zoom and be done with it. And they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, trust. And I'll like link over. I'm like, just buy this stuff. You know, it makes it so much. And I've noticed most successful people that I'm around, that's how they work.
Correct. You got to meet the people that did the trial and error and spent all that money, and it won't cost you as much.
And they have no ego.
None.
Like they don't, like a buddy of mine named Dan Beer, who's down in San Diego, does like, you know, he's been doing real estate for like 20 years and has like a massive company, sells 700 million in transactions, whatever. Like it's like a company. I mean, it's a big company now.
Right.
And like I met with him for the first time. We did a podcast down there, and like next day he's calling me. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, I want to do what we did yesterday.
Right.
Send me a link to everything you bought, and then tell me what I need to know. And I was like, this. And he's like, all right, bye. Hung up. Like that was it. He was like, 15 minutes. I need this. You know how to do it. I don't care. Like, bye. Like that's it. And then he like, and then a week later it was done. Like I saw him doing it, and I was like, dude, the quickness.
And I think this all started finally, and I hope the world gets it. Once the lid came off, where information
is
just at your fingertips. Before, people didn't think you could ask anybody anything, or you couldn't ask rich people a question.
Yeah.
But no, it is about networking. That's really my degree, is networking, just through trial and error in life. And I've learned that I've gotten there quicker just by asking the next man. And they don't have ego.
No, they don't. It's the lowest people. It is like, that is what's so mind-blowing. It's like so funny. Like, I'm actually flying up to San Jose next week to speak, and it's like all these agents who do need help. And like, I asked the guy yesterday, I'm like, who do we got coming? He's like, I got this big hitter and this big hitter. And then I'm like, do you have like a lot of brand new people? He's like, no. And it's like crazy. Like, the people that are already successful are the ones out there trying to learn more and aren't embarrassed to be like, I want to go try to learn something from this person. But like, the people that are not, they're like, I got this. I don't need anyone help. I already know it all. Like whatever. Or they're embarrassed or whatever. It's insane.
I think my observation that I've grabbed from those two mindsets, the first mindset of lack, right? Doesn't want to share with anybody because he's trying to still get there.
He's trying to survive.
He wants to become. So he doesn't want you to know, because if you pass him up, he feels less. The people that have already achieved it or have abundance, they're willing to share that because they have the, I found something. Let me share this with people. So as soon as people can adopt that understanding, they'll just get out themselves and start asking. Start asking.
That's what Grant Cardone says. Grant Cardone says poor people are the most selfish people in the world because
they
can't help anyone else.
That's correct.
He goes, they're barely helping themselves. They're barely surviving. They can't go out and actually help anyone else. He goes, so that's like, he's like, for me, it's like, you know, I mean, he's not an idiot. Like, you know, he's like, people make fun of me or whatever, but it's like, if I'm out here helping people, he's like, my goal is to help 1 billion people.
That's
so
correct.
It's like, I have to be loud, and I have to have people not like me, and I have to be everywhere, and I have to be crazy. And he goes, and I have to be something that you'll remember. I think that's what's hard nowadays. It's that you have to be rememberable in a world of attention span in seconds.
To touch on why people want to share information when they have abundance, I personally believe there's a universal law, if you want to call it. When you have gained an amass of something, you're almost having to share that because you know it could all be taken from you.
For sure.
So if you're not contributing and giving to others or teaching, I mean, what are you really worth at the end of the day?
Yeah. And I think what people don't realize is when you're teaching, that's when new ideas pop in your head.
All the time.
Like, I love when I'll like be ripping with someone. I'm like, hold on. And I'll like roll out my phone. I'll like write down a message. And they're like, what'd you do? I was like, I just got an idea that I need to write down because I'll forget it for something that I maybe want to shoot next week or an idea or whatever. Like, so I think that's also, I think it's like you learn that you grow as you teach because it makes your brain work.
That's really what I used school for.
Yeah.
Growing up, just doing things with others. A lot of people don't like that. I understand there's maybe some introverts or somebody's like, I don't want to talk to people. But in reality, like you said, when you're just sitting there with somebody, these ideas start to flow. And if you're congruent together, things come out.
Dude, and I don't think people realize momentum is so, like, you get that momentum going. Someone who has momentum is a very dangerous person.
Right.
Momentum it's not the person at top. It's the person who has the most momentum going. It's a very dangerous person.
Once you start turning the wheel.
Yeah.
Then you don't want to stop.
And then it's an addiction.
It's an addiction.
It does get addicting. Do you ever worry, like, obviously we're kind of in the same mindset of things like that. Like, it's always sometimes I always wonder, like, I have an algorithm that I like algorithms because I feel like if you put it into a problem, your emotions taken out of it. So then, like, whatever the answer is, like, 0 is always 0. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so for me, I have an algorithm. It's like happiness over time over money. It's like happiness is most important. And then how much time do you want to make as much money equals whatever.
Correct.
So for you, it's like, have you ever felt like you've sacrificed happiness or realized the X goal wasn't worth the sacrifice to get there?
Definitely have been through that.
Yeah.
Even on some deep levels where I put maybe myself first or I was chasing something. And let's just say it to the level where someone passed away and I didn't get to share life and time with that person because I put maybe career before them. And I'll never, ever do that again. So my new mantras, my new belief, my new morals, my new everything has to change.
Yeah.
And it's really deep as far as when that happens to you, you really realize what's important in this world.
And it sucks. I mean, I'm a big rap fan, and like Drake's album that came out a few years ago or last year, I think. He's like, no one cares until it's R.I.P. And that's the truth. Like, we don't realize. Like, something I've been really focusing on right now is being like blessed. Correct. We actually did something last night with the kids. We have 3 kids, and we blindfolded one of them. We put headphones on the other one so he couldn't hear, and then the other one couldn't talk, and they had to make cookies together. So one can't see, so they don't know what they're grabbing. The other one can't hear anything, so he doesn't know what anyone's saying. And the other one can't speak.
Right.
And the 14-year-old girl was like, she got done and she was like, wow, I couldn't see for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
Like, I couldn't imagine not being able to see ever.
Right.
And then our 10-year-old boy was like, wasn't able to hear for 30 minutes. I couldn't imagine not being able to hear.
Right.
And it's like that perspective of like, yeah, you want your new J's, but like you can see.
Right.
You can hear. You can walk. Like I think that's what sucks nowadays. It's like you almost have to like bring yourself down to like, but I can eat and I can sleep and I can see and I can feel and I can talk and I can, you know.
It'll come down to what you're tuning out and what you're tuning in.
Yeah.
And I know that right now we're in abundance of technology, information. We're being bombarded as humans, but you still have to remember that you're in control.
Yeah.
And you have to have control so that way you can remember those important things.
Because we were talking before the podcast about your son. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah.
Your goal of him going, or the goal for him to get in a certain school and
right. So my wife and I, we got obviously our boys right now. We're focused on our youngest ones, 13 and 9. And the whole goal is to get them to the next level of life.
Yeah.
As a man, as a dad, you should obviously lead your family and lead the next generation. So we come from that mindset and pushing my son to his limits so he can say, okay, I got to set the bar higher now. So MIT is what they're focused on. What is it? Robotics engineering for him.
Yeah.
The other one's civil engineering, or at the end of the day, whatever they choose, but showing them that the limits won't be pushed until you push them. And so getting them to MIT from swimming, they have to obviously be in some type of sport, getting their 4.5 GPA. So just focusing as much as possible, but keeping them grounded, right? So I tune out social media for them. I tune out the world and just have them focus on what really is important. Then when it's playtime, it's playtime.
Yeah.
I mean, the rich do it, right? The successful, the elite, it's playtime. But when you're grinding, you're putting your head down, you're focusing. That's what we're teaching them as young men already.
Yeah. I think that's the crazy thing is I'm doing one of the things I'm going to talk about next week that I really believe in is like we worship athletes and sports teams and all those things, but then we don't we most people want to be them.
Right.
But then obviously genetics help, obviously. I mean, if you're 5'5", you're not playing the NBA, but you know, if you're 6'8", you have a chance, you know? But like you probably wouldn't even have the work ethic or the mindset to be that person, even if you were 6'8". There's a lot of 6'8" guys that are not in the NBA.
Right.
So I would like a workshop that I'm doing is like, okay, like who's on your starting 5? And if those starting 5 aren't winning you a championship, whatever that is, if your team had a crappy 5th man, you would be like, trade him.
Right.
Cut him.
Right.
I don't care. We need a better player in here. I'm going to trade.
Right.
But you don't even treat your same life that way. You got people that are holding you from your championship, and you're like, nah, like he's my friend, or he's my this, or it's like, dude, you care more if your team wins a championship than you win a championship in your life. And that's just distractions.
And I think the way we all have to really look at it is what got them there, the story.
100%.
So the boxer, the fighter, the reason he's good in the ring or he even does what he does as a sport to, beat someone up with that lion in him is because of his background, how he grew up. So same thing with an NBA player, a ball player. Why do they eat, breathe, and sleep that? Because they want to get out as, they say, out of the hood or change their life or buy their mom a house. The story is what's going to get you there. So even in our situation, or our life, we have to remember what our story is. So we constantly remind them where we come from, who they are, what's the goal, where do we want to go. But the story, the passion, the drive will get you that. So you could be the NBA star, but is your story that strong? Is your story that much? That'll get you there?
Well, and it's crazy. Then you see the guys that are like in the league for like a year and then they're out. And it's like they just didn't like, they just didn't care enough. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing too, is like as you level up, like the competition does get harder. So it's like, can you deal with the mental strategy, the mental game of it that you have to compete with, and some can't.
I almost wonder if the people that want to become celebrities or athletes, is that really their calling? Or were they meant to start a business? Were they meant to become something else, but because we're being bombarded with be the NBA star, get the $200 million contract, maybe it's not what you were supposed to do. And so they pass through life believing this and they miss the goal.
Yeah, or they didn't even have a chance to think about anything else other than that.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is like we get so drawn in a certain direction, positive or negative. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think a lot of issues in this world are economic issues. You know, this is why you're on the podcast. But maybe we'll get to it sooner or later.
Right. We got to start talking about that.
But like for me, it's like economics is the biggest issue with everything. It's like most people don't grow up to break the law or to steal or to rob or to be a drug dealer, but they do it because they need to survive.
Right.
So it's like, for me, it's like it's just strictly economics. You put someone in a bad position. If they, you know, bad people are bad people, but it's like, would that person steal if they didn't have to? Would that person rob that person if they don't have to? Would they? Maybe, but more or less, how many times is it just I gotta survive, or that's all they've known because the people around them are trying to survive?
Well, this will be the exact segue to get to the financial literacy side of things is, well, we have to stop and everybody's got to ask, is this being done on purpose? Is there a construct? Is there a reason why they're distracting us with sports, music, being 100%. A celebrity, so that, let's call it what it is. Maybe there is a matrix. Maybe there is elites that say, let them get distracted, right? Like Caesar did with his Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Everybody would come out, as they call them, the peasants, right? They would come out into the stadium, be distracted by the warrior, you know, and they're just distracted from life, and so they go celebrate that moment only to go back to their mundane after that. So I wonder, in our future now, are we being distracted with social media, 100%. TV, all the marketing, so it distracts you from the economics of what's important, how to take care of your credit, how to actually buy a home, how to really live your life out, and what's good for you and your family. Yeah. So I do believe that's what's been played out for all these years, man.
Well, I mean, if you want to look at like TikTok, you know what I mean? Like the TikTok algorithm that they have in America versus the TikTok algorithm they have in China.
We've been hearing this. This is crazy.
It's China. It's like they support like doctors and engineers, and like they want the youth to think that is what's cool. And then in America, it's like dancing videos.
So we got to ask, if you wanted to win a war and you were a different country,
that's how you do it. You break down the youth.
You distract them
from what's important. Yeah.
Right, and keep breeding yours into champions. Right. So do a lot of people think this is real? Some think it's conspiracy theory. I would think, well, if you stop and look at what's really going on, maybe you'll find the answer. But to that is exactly what's happening.
I mean, my thing is like, if society is so easily confused on what is cool, because we are mostly sheep. And so it's like, if we push saving money is cool, if we pushed good credit is cool. Like I always joke around, like, can you imagine if everyone walked around with like their credit score and their shirt and what they have in savings? You would care more about that because the world then knows it. Right. But the reason people don't care about credit and saving money is because no one sees it. It's the unknown factor. I think probably most people don't even know what their credit score is, to be honest. No. They have no idea.
They check on these free apps, but it's not even the right score. They don't even know how to read their scores.
And they don't, and like, I mean, I'm in the real estate world, so it's like, I know so many people that are, to go to a loan officer is the scariest thing in the world because they are so scared what their credit will be. Right. They've never looked.
Unknown.
It's the unknown. And they're like, and it's funny. I always tell my agents that I work here, I'm like, anyone who drags their feet on getting their stuff to a lender isn't 100% confident in their finances. Everyone who's ever been confident, they're like, instantly, it's like, it's in his inbox. Right. And because they're not scared of they know what they're going to find out. They know they're going to get it qualified. They know they have the credit score. They know they have all those things.
So we got to ask the question, and this is where I come from, the frame of mind of teaching people. Why don't they teach this in school? Is there a construct? Is there a reason why they don't want you to know how to buy the house? They have economics class, but what are they teaching there? Yeah. And that, obviously, professor doesn't even own a business himself.
I know. Don't even start with that.
Right. So how are they expecting the world to know what credit is?
And our parents don't know either. Unless your parents are financially successful. They're not going to tell you.
No.
You know I can waste no time, because I got to keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, because I got to keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, because I got to keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
I mean, I love my parents, but I remember like back in the day, it used to be like you move one credit card to another credit card that had 0 interest, and that's good finances.
Moving some money around.
Move some money around, okay.
Which works.
It does work.
If you're doing it on a scale,
yes,
right?
but not survival. Not any financial advice.
And credit cards are just a tool.
They're a tool, especially
That's
now.
all it is.
But the problem with credit cards, they put credit cards in the hands of people that aren't responsible enough anyways.
Right.
And so then you get behind the 8 ball, and what people don't realize is like if you got a 20% credit or 20% interest rate, which most credit cards are, that $100 is now $120. It's so funny. We worry about inflation at 8%.
Right.
But we don't worry about the massive debt that is being built up in this country that is 20% interest.
Right.
Every time you don't pay off your credit card, you're paying more inflation.
And the thing is, it's because there's a reward at the end of you swiping.
Yeah.
Which is the thing you're buying.
Yeah.
So that thing that you glorify, which is that merchandise, whatever it is you're buying, you're like, hey, I'll pay 20% for that. Versus I'm complaining about inflation over here because it makes no sense. You just said it.
Yeah.
They're paying 20%.
You have your own inflation.
30%. It's and the inflation drew up these rates a little higher on the credit cards too.
Oh, for sure. Now that if the Fed keeps raising their rates, and that's the other thing too. Is like I don't even think people understand what that all stuff is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then trying to explain it to people. You know, I don't know.
The only knowledge people I've seen through the observation again is they only know about credit as far as to their student loan debt that they got.
Yeah.
That's their first piece of debt. So you go to school for all these years, which we know is a little weird now to think about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, school is important. I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah.
However, you just got to go into your field, your practice. But to acquire school loans, sure, it's important for some. Some need it. But you're already into debt going into your career. The second piece of debt that the people are going to acquire is their credit cards, because what do? They mail you at 18 that first credit card, hoping you rack that up. Without teaching you, there's not a chart. Hey, if you spend this, do it like this, pay it down. There's nothing in that envelope other than figure it out.
And then the worst part about it, then the worst part about it is in all societies, the poor always get taken advantage of. So then I have bad credit. Okay, you're going to go to this person, and then we were talking about the other day. It's like all of a sudden now it's like, this guy's just taking $35 a month from you.
Right.
His credit's not really helping you.
No. There is a way, and there's also, to the government, I would say, to their credit. I never really credit them much, I know, but to their credit, there is FDCPA set in place, which means there's a certain way that these 3 bureaus have to report accurately. So if they're inaccurate in each bureau, the dollar amount of the time, I mean, you have a fair shot there to have that fixed or removed because of those laws that are set in place, because people need to understand that the 3 bureaus are for profit. First and foremost, just because they have the word bureau does not mean they're the government.
Yeah.
They're for-profit corporations. Now, how do they get paid? The central banks.
Yeah.
Central banks pay them if they can kind of mess up your scores a little bit, because then you'll pay higher interest.
Yeah.
It's all a ball game.
It's all a game.
Everybody's in this game. But now you come to someone like me who's got some experience in certain areas. I'm not just going to wipe your credit. That's not right. That's illegal, first of all. If you owe the debt, you owe the debt.
Yeah.
There's a certain way to go about it, right? So 4-year statute of limitations in California, every state's different. After the statute of limitations is run out, you don't owe it. You just don't, per the government. This is what they've stated.
So if you own debt for 4 years and you don't pay it, in California, you don't pay it. In 4 years, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't owe it, but here's what happens. These collection agencies will acquire out of statute of limitations debt. It's illegal for them to do that. You no longer owe it. But the moment you answer that call, hello, you've reset the statute of limitations. People don't know that. So now you actually owe the debt again, but now you owe it to that third
person.
Party.
And and what people don't realize with collections, they buy the debt pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar.
And they literally, I have a buddy of mine who owns a collection company, and like he just goes, we just buy, we buy $20,000 worth of debt for $5,000 or whatever, and then we just call.
Right. I've heard it's up in the millions.
Oh, for sure.
Millions that they buy for $20,000, $10,000 a portfolio. And that's, again, it could be out of statute of limitations, which is deemed uncollectible. But if they get you to answer that call, or you respond with your name, if they say, hey, is John there? And you say yes, you've reset the clock. So you acknowledge the debt, basically. That's how they're protected. But what I want to teach people is, per state, you don't owe it necessarily at a certain time frame unless you've reset the clock. But what you're really supposed to do is, if you check all 3 bureaus and the amounts are inaccurate, then we have to dispute that, have them verify, why is this inaccuracy? Now, if they can't do it within 35, 45 days, then it's deemed, well, they got to actually remove it.
Okay.
If they verify this is correct and accurate, now we got to go verify this with the actual creditor, the person you owe the money to. Verified. If they don't have the wet signature on contract, well, it's deemed, again, you don't owe this. This is inaccurate. And most of these companies don't have that unless you're Chase originally, who you owed. They have the contract still and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of variations there as to why you're protected to remove all this stuff off your credit. But there is, like we spoke last time, people who are just erasing these debts off people's credit, but it's going to come right back on anyway.
Well, and then we were talking about, it's like then you're never going to be able to get a credit card ever again, because
No.
people are like, oh, you
Right.
rack up your bills,
Yeah.
then you just try to wipe them,
Right.
and then you don't pay us back. It's like, why
Right.
would I give you a credit
See,
card?
when people call me and they become a client, they have to qualify for credit repair first. Not everybody qualifies. If you owe all these debts, hey man, I'll recommend that you just contact them and actually settle the debt for 1%, 2%, 3%.
I think that's the thing that people don't realize. If you go in and say, like, I can't pay this, but I'll pay this,
they'll do it.
they'll say, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd
they'll
rather
give
get
you-
something.
They'll give you a letter of paid in full and a deletion letter, which means you've settled this, you've paid it for this lesser amount. Here's your deletion letter. Send this to the bureaus, and that'll take it off.
But what people also, going back to the big game, and like these companies will end up taking losses for tax benefits anyways.
100%.
So like
That's it right there.
that's what they need them anyways.
Yes.
It's that or they pay the government.
Right.
So for them, it's like, screw it. Okay, we're taking this, but actually us losing $5 million this year off this is actually going to save us $10 million in
Yes.
taxes. So that's what
They
like,
benefit.
They benefit. Like there is a game that
Yes.
people do not process
Right.
how the game is played. And
Right.
when you figure out the game,
Yes.
that's when your life changes. It's just finding people that truly know how to play the game.
Every industry has this, by the way. Even fast food restaurants have shrink. How many cups did we lose every time we had to throw, or a bad order came out and throw all these wraps away from the food? How much food did we throw away? All of that goes as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
So every industry has it. The automobile industry, the bank, when they sell the secondary market loans, right? If they couldn't get this quarter, well, they lost out on this. It's everywhere. It's everything.
It's just crazy. It's like I had a buddy of mine who's a RPD, and we were living together when I first started doing real estate, and I just had an LLC, and that was my first year doing an LLC and everything. And I was like, dude, it was like December. I was like, I gotta spend like 40 G's. And he's like, what? And I go, dude, I gotta spend this money or I'm gonna be taxed on it. And he's like,
Correct.
so you have to spend money to
People
not
don't
get
get
taxed.
this, yes.
I'm like, yes. And he's like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, I gotta go buy a car. Like I bought my car just for a tax write-off
Right.
to save money in taxes. I didn't really want to buy it, but it was like, okay, what do I do? Like that's the other thing. Do I pay the government that brings no value to my company?
Right.
Or do I go buy something that brings value to my company?
Right.
Either way, I'm going to spend the money.
Right.
It has to go one way or another.
That's what scares me about a lot of high-income earners. People that make 100, 200, 300, 3, 4, 500,000 a year, they're being taxed, what, 30, 40%?
Yeah.
They're giving that away. They don't have a problem with that because they know it's owed.
Yeah.
Why don't they go ahead and acquire some rentals?
Yeah.
Okay? Start working on that cash flow. Now this income that you're still getting over here, it's going to have to be written down.
You got to get rid of it.
You got your cash flow coming in, pay your bills. That's not taxable. But people do not want to spend their time off TikTok and actually go learn something on YouTube University. It's there. The information's
the information's so there. But do you worry? I worry about this app because everyone has a voice now, and this is so easy to do that it's like you can get trapped up now so easily.
Misinformation.
Like I laugh like I'll see someone on Instagram with like a blue check mark, and I'll like look at them, and then like I'll Google their name, and they'll have like 1 week of articles, and I'll never hear them. Like they're in Forbes. Like you can pay to be in Forbes. You
Yes,
can pay
you
on the
can.
Wall Street Journal. You can be you pay to be in these places, and then it's like they got the blue check mark because they know how to work the system to get that, and now they're selling some Amazon drop shipping, and you're like, dude.
To that point, people don't get it. They're the ones making them rich by signing up for these courses.
Yes.
They're living off that money that's coming in monthly, not from the actual stuff they've done. So you've now become their product. I've always wanted to say this, man. And, you know, I mean, they could get mad at me. I don't care. But that's really how
that's
you
how
do
they
it.
make their money.
That's
Is based on, and what people don't get is like, it's what sucks is we were talking about in the car. We were talking about coaching programs. It's like I have bought coaching programs for $2,000 and got done with it, and I'm like, that sucked.
Correct.
Like I just wasted $2,000 on that. And that's the thing too. I think sometimes you get to a certain level, like we were talking about earlier. It's like you have maxed out what you need to know. This guy named John Shepelak is a big time real estate coach, and he goes, my job is not to teach you something new. You already know everything you need to be successful. My job is to keep you accountable and to be a sounding board to when you come up, like when you come up with something new. He goes, I'm not going to say anything that you haven't heard.
Right.
He's like, that's not, and I get paid a lot of money, and I talk to the most successful coaches. If you're looking for someone to tell you something new, it doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
It's the same thing for me. I don't want to cast any pearls before swine.
Yeah.
You've heard this.
Yeah.
And it's because no one's going to put it in action. Maybe 1% of people are going to put anything in action. So they're getting all this analysis paralysis, all these cool slogans that it's actually true.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting there hours and hours, even when they go to the restroom, just looking at this knowledge. I'm going to go do this now, but they never put into play. So you never become better.
Mm-hmm.
You never tested it. I mean, you paid what, the $2,000, like you said, for that, but it's $2,000 invested that you'll never do again.
100%.
So you learned.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're like, let me just put what I do in action.
Yeah. And I'm also the
that's
opposite way now. I'm like, if it's not $5,000, I'm not looking into it. And they go like, people go, why? I go, because if it's really that valuable, you can charge more money.
Right.
Like if it's truly valuable, I will pay the more money for it.
I think if people understand to charge more money and to have people pay you more money, it's just the quality of service you give them. So if it's quality that you're going to receive on your end, you'll pay it.
100%. It's just like a nice restaurant.
That's it.
It's just a nice restaurant. It's a nice car. Like I could drive like I told someone the other day, I was like, I used to drive a cargo van for 3 years and I love that thing. But I don't know if I could go back now from a Range Rover to a cargo van. Like I got heated seats now.
The experience.
It's like it drives smooth. I don't hear road noise. Like, you know what I mean?
And when you went to get the Range Rover, how did they treat you that Range Rover?
Oh, dude. That's the thing that people don't process. My brother used to be in cars too back in the day. He was like, he worked at like when he was 18. And before I had a Mercedes, I said, hey, I need you to take my car to the dealership and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, okay, took it. And he was like, oh my God. I was like, what? And he goes, I think he worked at Hyundai. I think it was. He's like, we used to have one guy to manage all this. He goes, I show up, they have 4 guys.
Right. And
he goes, I walk in, they call me Mr. Schwartz, they give me a coffee, they put me in a lounge chair, they get me snacks, they do all this, they wash your car, they did all, and I go, that is what you pay per month. Not just the car.
No.
You pay for the whole package.
The branding, everything.
You pay
that
for
goes with
everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just not, it's like, nice hotels. It's like, yeah, it's funny. Hotel rooms, the nice hotels, the rooms aren't that much bigger, whatever, but it's like everything is handled. The towels are perfect. Everything's perfect. It's insane.
People need to see that they're paying for quality.
Yeah.
They're paying for good service at the end of the day.
I tell people all the time, I mean, I live my life on life experiences. I would say this example to everyone. I go, you have 2 choices in life. You can both be in Vegas. One has in a penthouse and one's at the Tropicana. You're both in Vegas, but it's 2 different experiences. Which one do you want? But I think people need to taste the experience to know that's what I'm shooting for. Right? Like I joke all the time, like I want to fly private one time. The one was like, why? I was like, just so I could feel it and be like, this is what I want. Like this is like the other day I flew to Philadelphia for the World Series. I had 3 delays, stopped in 4 different cities. It was the worst day of my life. Where I was like, man, if I was just rich, I could have flown first class.
How much did you pay for that ticket?
Oh, like $600.
$600.
Yeah.
There is private jet charter services. $500 one way, $500 the other, $1,000. Yeah. You don't have to go through check-in, TSA, and
like,
all the show that you're going to get.
100%.
Forget that.
It is like another level. So it's like I'd rather sacrifice those things because I'm really cheap. I hope people realize that. Like I hate spending money on shoes.
Yeah.
I don't buy, like my girl over there loves fashion. I'll wear the same blank shirt every day. I don't care. I wear the same $100 Nikes every day. Like her kids have more expensive shoes than me. They're talking about J's and this and that. And I'm like, bro, I don't even know what those are.
Right.
And I never have.
Is great for all that.
They're great,
but we don't need it.
So what made you get into like credit repair? So like it's not sexy. It's not
it's not.
No one goes like, I'm gonna do credit repair. Even like I think it's funny about real estate. Like people get into real estate and I'm like, why'd you get into real estate? I want to look at houses. You'll never look at houses. They're like, what are you talking about? It's like, if you don't like coming to an office, you're not going to do well in real estate. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, the percentage of you actually showing houses is so small compared to how much you actually do. So what made you get into credit repair?
I first touched it back in 2000, 2001. I was dibble-dabbling in real estate, mortgages.
Yeah, okay.
Back then, no technology existed like it does now.
Couldn't imagine.
There was no proprietary letters, no proprietary software.
I couldn't imagine.
None of that. Everything was handwritten, and you had to turn everything certified and wait for them to respond.
Dude.
So my clients needed credit repair because if you want to get them into a house, especially at that time, right before 2008, everybody wanted to buy a house. So I came in at a perfect time to real estate at that time. And I said, these people need help. So I just started understanding what is the FDCPA? let me try this. So I teamed up with a few people in the office, and we started to help our clients first, get them into the house, get them pre-qualified. It worked out from there. So this was back then. Stopped that for a while, continued on with mortgages for a bit, and then the crash happened.
Yeah.
So I got out of that. But just recently, it dawned on me, I think maybe about 6-7 years ago, I'm like, as a man, you got to have good credit. It wasn't even so much about helping people get into homes anymore. It was personal.
Yeah.
Reason being because my credit was jacked up. I was in the 500s, 540s. The one thing that bothered me the most was I would go out with friends or family, and somebody drops their platinum card, and they're like, I got this. And I'm like, damn it, man, that's embarrassing. Because here I go with my wad of cash, which cash used to look cool, by the way.
Anymore.
No, if you got cash and you're not paying the bill with your phone, you're back a book, as they say. So now let's just say that it hit me personal. I said, okay, if I can't take my family out and put the card down like they do, man, I'm not a man.
Yeah.
And you know, this whole topic about being a man, but that's really what it comes down to.
For sure, you want to provide.
You have to provide.
Yeah.
You have to be the lion at home. So I said, let me fix my credit. Let me figure out how to do this. So I dove deep because it was personal.
Yeah.
Once I understood the system completely, once I understood the bureaus, then I understood the CFPB, the government. I said, okay, I got this. Fixed my credit. Thank God I'm in, up there.
Yeah.
I said, I got to do this for others. I will no longer allow another man or another woman to have to go through bad credit, because the experience that the schools do not teach, the government does not want you to know, the elites don't want you to know, because they make money on the back end with the interest rates. And so every time I'm in a finance situation or helping someone, I just drop them a gem. Hey, this is what you need. I don't even think they're going to become a client until they're just like, can you do it for me? But I rather give them the understanding first. Once they understand how credit really works and why it's important, and that it's all a tool to become successful in this country is built off that. That's how personal it is for me. Once they understand that, then I say you can become a client now, because now I know you won't go jack it up. Once we fix it. So it started exactly around that time, 5-6 years ago, where it was personal. The last 3 years during COVID, when everybody started to jump on the social media and learning more and leveling up, as I call it, is really when I knew, okay, we have something here. Now it's sexy. Now everybody wants to do credit repair. But I think everybody should. Just follow the guidelines. I think this nation, again, is a great nation. I know a lot of people talk bad about United States because of our politics system.
Listen. You know what? If you've never been to a third world country, not for not going out of Mexico for vacation, or like when you go to a foreign country and live there, a third world country. I've been in a country for 4 months. Like when you get shooken down by the cops, like when you literally see that, or you're part of it. Like I remember one night we're driving and they just flew past the cops, and I was like, "Why don't you guys stop?" And they're like, "We don't stop at those." Like, they're like, if they chase us, then we'll stop. But they're not going to chase us. We know why they're stopping people, especially us being Americans. So they knew, like they would come back to our window. Like they would just like,
this is real.
This is real life. Like, and this would happen all the time. And like people don't realize, like you think you don't like it here, go there. Where you have no choice. And like literally, it's like I'd be like, no.
I mean, we just got to even talk about just the wages in third world countries.
Oh yeah,
the wages. I mean, I know you said not even just a vacation, but when we went to Cancun just a few months back, the wage per hour is $1.40.
I know,
or $1.30, somewhere around there. And the way they're treating us at the resort, giving us the best royal treatment, I'm like, wait a minute, there is something wrong here. Where I was just giving them what we make an hour here as tips every time. I mean, this is not making sense. So for everybody here not to be happy or play the game, as we said, there's a game. The IRS tax codes are laid out for all of us to play game with them, play ball with them. But everybody understands the IRS to be the bad guy. I do think it's like Caesar. That's it. But there is some stuff in play where if you play ball with them, they will help you. So play by the guidelines.
I think that's my biggest thing is like you just got to play by the rules. That's like if you play by the rules and know how to play, you will win.
Speaking of rules, why do people watch a sport, combat sport, and everybody's getting bloody and knocked out in there? They also have rules. So why do people not want to follow rules that'll make you better here in life?
I agree.
That's what I'm not understanding.
Or they become so obsessed with that sport or whatever, but then have no clue on what actually benefits their life.
Right. So to go back to credit, and earlier when you mentioned people aren't just born to do wrong or steal or cheat, they're not. what has happened through the years is once a man realizes, dang, my credit, I cannot go do this. Man, I can't afford this. Then that's where that little seed comes in, and then they go do bad.
Yeah.
So it all starts with your credit. It starts with when you look at yourself in the mirror every time you wake up in the morning, how much you're worth. And you can't build any net worth in this country if your credit isn't there.
Well, I don't think people realize, like, the most powerful people, like Amazon and all that, they can borrow money
Instantly.
millions and millions. I think Amazon borrowed the money to buy that grocery or Fresh or whatever.
Right.
Or whatever. It's like he borrowed all the money to buy that company.
Right.
And then now that company is making it money.
Right.
It's like even like what people don't realize is like what rich people do is they'll buy a house cash, then refi.
Correct.
The money back from that refi is non-taxable income.
Yes.
So that, or they'll do that on art, cars,
Yes.
all these things. So you pay cash for something, then you get the money right back.
Right.
Or even just like putting your money in 4% treasuries.
That's it.
Like just putting your money, you got 50 grand in your bank account, just put in a treasury for 6 months. You're getting 4% back. But like I've told people that and they're like, oh no, I want to keep my money in the bank. I'm like, why? It's making no money off you.
Right.
You're literally allowing the bank to take your money
Right.
and charge 20% interest on that money, and you're not getting anything for it.
Right.
It's crazy.
The biggest thing for me why credit's important nowadays is there's so much noise about start your own business. Okay. So if you're not a well-connected tech guy who's going to develop some type of tech and you're going to raise funds and get all these JVs involved, let's just call it what it is. The regular person, the common man, okay, can start a business, but guess what you're going to need? Credit. Get your credit first. Get your LLC. Build your business credit. Now start asking for funding from the banks. Start building your business.
Yeah.
Because everybody's watching this on TikTok. Oh, start your business. Do this, but they can't. So that's why they never start, because they never started within themselves. That's why credit is important to me.
You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
Man, they need to start today.
Yeah.
If they wait until the year's going to end in about a month.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to start all over again 2023. Again with the same 2022 and their whole past.
Well, and the hard part too is like it takes time to get credit back. I think that's the thing that also the reason why being successful is so difficult. It just takes time.
Right.
Like as much as you want the fast pass to it, it just doesn't work that way.
Mine took a year.
Yeah.
It took a full year of me putting my head down, making as much as I can, repairing my entire credit profile. It takes a good process.
Yeah.
People destroyed it over how many years, and then they expected in 30 days.
That's how I look at losing
It's
weight.
a lie.
It's like losing weight. It's
Right.
like you didn't gain 20 pounds,
Right.
30 pounds overnight.
Right.
It's taken a long time. A lot of bad. We always talk about it's like life is both ways. It's like most people look at a bad situation or a good one and go like, oh, I can't believe this happened to you, or oh, I'm so happy this happened. The problem is it's like you didn't look back at all the little decisions that put you there.
Right.
It doesn't just happen,
No.
right? It's all these little bad decisions that add up to something really bad, or vice versa.
And when they were doing those decisions, they knew within themselves,
100%. You're not
I
stupid.
shouldn't drink this. I shouldn't eat this.
Or I shouldn't go buy this. I know I can't afford it.
Right.
You know what
It's
I mean?
all behavior. So
It's
credit, I tell people, it's all psychology, and it shows us your behavior pattern, who you are. This is why it's a big thing in this country. They know who you are if you'll pay them back.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand that, I mean, you're never going to get anything, and you'll continue these mundane jobs. So having good credit gets you out of the rat race. You're no longer working your 9 to 5, as it's sexy to talk about that, but they don't even know where to start. Start with your credit.
Yeah.
Start with yourself. How you wake up in the morning. First thing I do is I check exactly where my FICO's at. I want to see any alerts. I check my bank accounts, check my crypto, check my stocks. It's your behavior pattern. Obviously, I do prayer first.
Yeah.
Then I do that. Then I go to work out. But what is your daily routine? It has to be a part of your routine. People have a routine on Fridays, happy hour, but they won't have a routine for their credit.
Yeah.
Check your payments. Are they on time?
Yeah. Or I mean, that's the thing. It's like, dude, you just gotta pay stuff back on time.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
It's part of it.
It's it's like, and I think that's the thing too. Is it's like it just goes back to the sad part about it is what people don't realize is like in our world, it's like like we just rented out 22 townhouses, and it's like, dude, if I have someone here that has a 700 credit score and I have someone here that's 500 and I have one lease spot, who am I going to give that to? I'm going to give it to the person with 700. He's proven to us that he's going to pay us. Like, I think that's the thing too. It's like, you just put yourself behind the 8 ball when you don't even, and you're so young, you don't even realize you're doing yet. And no one's telling you like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that.
For me, the biggest thing of why I continue in this industry of credit repair and credit coaching, it's not just repairing, it's coaching you through it. I have a lot to do with obviously the real estate side, the mortgage side, the auto side, the finance side, the starting a business side. So it's crucial. It's the backbone to being able to buy a house. A lot of people don't even know, hey, they'll hit you up, how can I buy a house? They have no idea what the FICO does for the interest rate. They have no idea what the bank institution wants to see. They want to see at least 24 months of seasoning of a certain account, of a certain balance. So if you ain't got 10,000 sitting in that credit card, they don't look at you. So then you got your co-signer, but they also want to see the down payment seasoned in that bank account. All of this is financial literacy. All of this is the credit coaching that I provide. But most importantly, I want to do this for my realtors, for my mortgage people, the auto world. It all ties in together.
Well, and that's the hard part too, is when someone comes to us that can't buy, that's bad credit. It's like it's hard to find someone to be like, hey, all right, go to this person, and then knowing like, hey, this is gonna take a year, dude. Like this is gonna take time. Like it's not gonna happen overnight. And then that's why we have to remind them like, why you want to buy a house? Like, I mean, just what people don't realize, like if 2 people own a house at 30 years and one has good credit and one has bad credit, and you're paying an extra, the bad person's paying an extra 1%, you're paying so much more for that house. That other person's not, that you then can go take that money and invest it in other things.
And the sad part is the institutions that are going to loan you the money, they look at, okay, he's got bad credit, we can charge him a little higher interest rate. They make an extra point or two on the back end. So by having bad credit, they're making more money on you.
100%.
Isn't it funny when you have great credit, you tell the lending institution how you want it?
100%.
You walk into a dealership saying, don't run my credit until I like the numbers you're showing me. I want your 1.9% interest. But when they see that guy walk in with a 600 score, it's game time for them. They want to eat him alive.
Well, and they can leverage it against him. Like, well, your credit's not that good. So that's why we have to
It's their selling technique. It's their tool.
You know, and it's for me, it's, you know, I'm worried. I mean, I'm worried because, like, I think Bank of America came out something right now. Like, Bank of America came out where they're going to start giving loans out that, like, no credit, no this, no that. And I'm like, here we go again.
And we always got to read the fine print because we all know there's no free lunch.
Exactly. So they're going to get hit with crazy rates. And that's going to be a crazy monthly payment. And I laughed. Like, I made a video about it, and someone's, like, arguing with me. And I'm like, why didn't they do this back in 2012 when these people could actually make money in real estate? Now that the market's slowing down and they need more loans, now they come out with this special program to help people. No,
I think they know how to keep the shackles on everybody. Because if it's so rough right now and we're going through recession, all these things are happening, why is there so much more abundance flowing? Why are they still cutting in California a little inflation check to us? Why did they cut us those checks, you know, that we got it during COVID? And back then we were happy to take it. That we didn't think there was going to be this inflation. A lot of people don't think. All the heavy hitters at the top, the elite, knew it would.
They knew it was coming.
But they also know when to move, when to pivot.
Well, and too, a lot of their stuff is built into assets, so inflation's great for them.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Inflation, are like, I'm kind of pissed. I got gold, and gold's going down right now. I thought gold was supposed to fix inflation. I'm like, what that about?
Same thing with the home rentals. Yes, California was horrible for the moratorium on the renters and whatnot, the owners. But when you go to Texas, landlord-friendly state, the rents went up because of the inflation. They made more money. So had you positioned yourself years ago, all the podcasts everybody listens to, all the stuff they're talking about, nobody really moves. People say, I can't wait for a recession to happen. I'm going to buy when it's out in the street because it's sexy to talk like Warren Buffett and everybody else. But no one ever takes action. How do I know that? I look at your credit. You never take action based on your behavior patterns. So when somebody says, I'm about to do this, no, dude, stop trying to sound sexy like everybody. You don't even have the down payment.
That, you know, and that's the other thing too. It's like, you can't make moves unless you make a lot of money. Like, you got to figure out how to make more money. And I think that's the other thing too. Like, you need to make, you know, I had a guy I knew, and I'm like, he's trying to make all these moves, these real estate, buy this, and I said, you don't make enough money.
At the end of the day, it's an income problem.
It's an income
Always will be an income problem.
I was like, you need to make more money.
You need to level up as a man. Back to that, I tell everybody, man, I coach men purposely. It's just like a sport. You need to get your credit right. You need to get your credit cards. Get as much as you can available to you. get 100 grand available to you in credit.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is it opens up the institution to say, I will loan him 500,000.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't spend it.
Yeah.
He spends it wisely.
That's the other thing too, is like, don't like if just because you can, just because your card goes at 30 grand, don't take it at 30 grand.
And I tell people, pay down your card right before your statement closing date, not the due date, the statement closing date. So people wonder, well, how do I manage my money? Don't use your debit card. Charge everything on your American Express or whatever card of choice. And right before that statement date on the 26th closes and it reports it to the bureaus, pay down that limit. If you have a $10,000 limit, you should only be using 3%. That's the sweet spot. Some people think it's 30%. No, that's DTI for real estate. But on a credit card, you should be under 10%. The sweet spot is 3%. Your scores shoot up. The banks love you. You're never, you basically are showing the bank a little love, a little interest money. You got to give them a little love. Everybody's got to make some money. So that's why you hold a small balance. But it should be a 3% balance to the actual limit of your card. That's how you maximize your credit, maximize your credit. So to your point, no, you shouldn't max out anything. You got to have available to you. An 800 score, you will have a minimum of $100,000 available to you in lines of credit card credit.
I don't know how I have 800, but I'm happy I do. But that's the other thing too. Then it's just, for me, I'm very fortunate. Now it's just like, I just got to maintain it.
That's it.
Like I got 805 right now. It's just maintain time.
When you played ball, right? Didn't you have to maintain to get to the actual game on the weekend?
Exactly.
Or to get to the playoffs? Practices.
Well, that's like right now we so I have a new assistant I'm running through. This is what I do every day. And she's like, why do you do this every day? I was like, I got to keep my mind in the market.
Yes.
Like I want, so if anytime I run into someone at a grocery store, I'm prepared to hit my facts and know, like, I need to be in the game. Every day.
Everybody wakes up at 5 a.m. to read charts, look at charts. Where's the market? Where's the dollar? Where's the crypto? You have to.
You have to be in the game every day.
You cannot be blind. Sometimes during work, you look at the phone too to check where's the chart.
Yeah.
Right? Crypto's moving all day long.
That and the other thing now the things are moving so quickly. It's like every day. Like that's what I keep telling people right now. I was like, it's not sexy to buy houses anymore. So it's like, what are you going to tell someone when they go like, hey, should I buy a house right now?
Right.
Like, obviously it's not like based on certain things, but when you go deep dive into people and you actually know what to say to them,
it's their situation too.
100%.
It'll always be their situation. So for me, I want to buy another house right now.
Yeah.
And I will, because I'll negotiate the price while it's all scary because the rates, I'm going to use it to my advantage. Refi out of it in a year, 2 years, or whenever the rates drop again. Yeah. It's per situation.
But you can take advantage of it. I always love everyone that the last few years, like, I'm going to wait until the market crashes. And the market's going down.
Right.
You know? You don't even have the funds or the credit or nothing.
See, the government's not dumb either. Whoever's controlling this matrix is, okay, once it goes down here, we're also going to keep them locked here, though.
Yeah.
So even though the prices did this, they're still going to make sure you don't sell.
Yeah.
Because it's dropping your home equity that you thought you had 6 months ago.
Yeah, or the banks will all of a sudden, we saw this right when COVID hit. It's like, oh, we're not going to loan to 580 anymore. Now you have to be at 640. So if you were at 590 and you wanted to buy a house, you can't buy a house now.
My goal is to get everybody to the 700 club.
Yeah.
If I can get the majority of people to a 700 plus, you're good, because 720 is where everybody starts to play ball with you. You get the best rates with the mortgage, you get the best rates with the auto. If you're in the 800 club, now you got bragging rights. Yeah, nobody looks at you, they don't bat an eye, they'll finance you. But it does change from 640 to 680 to the 720 mark. And why play down there? You got to be up in the 700 club.
Life is so much easier. I don't think people realize when you walk into a place,
right?
Like, and you could just go like, all right, let's sign the paperwork. Like, it's not negotiating. It's not going back and forth. It's not. It's just like, let's just sign the paperwork.
Right.
Like,
you can call the shots.
Yeah. Well, like every time I buy a car now, I don't even go in. I'm like, this is the car I want. This is the deal I want. This is what I am. All right, we're good. Okay, I'll come day to day and buy it.
That's it.
And that is just having the confidence. Because I think everything comes down to confidence, to be honest. It's like you're that confident because you know what you got.
Right.
So you're not scared. Yeah. So if they say no, you're like, all right, fine. You're not going to say no. Like, let's be honest here. You're not going to say
Once
no.
I get clients to their goal and I get them in the 800s, I tell them, you're not about to go crazy and go spend money now. Now what you're going to do is start buying the assets that'll pay for the fun stuff you want. We hear Kiyosaki and everybody talk about it. So now you put yourself in the position that all the stuff you learned, you can put yourself in that ball game.
Yeah.
But people think, once I get an 800 or I get all these credit cards, I'm going to go buy stuff. You don't need stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you know what's crazy? I think what also helps busy people is, like, we don't have time for this stuff.
Right.
So it's
at the end of the day.
Like, my best friend, he's funny. He lives in Beaumont. He has like 5 buddies that live on the same street, and they all went out and bought PS5s. He's like, he's a nurse. He works 12, so he works like 4 days a week. He's like, when when am I gonna play a PS5? Like I don't got
Right,
time.
exactly.
Like when am I gonna play a PS5?
Because FOMO's real.
I don't got time to play a PS5. Like so I don't need to waste $600 on a PS5 because I don't got the time to even play it anyways.
Everybody just sees the pictures on Instagram accounts when they think that's all day long people are doing right around their Ferrari. No. What that person does has a Prius from his whatever business he's doing during the week. On the weekends, he takes that car out for a joyride.
Yeah.
But he was able to place himself in that position, and it's a tax write-off maybe, or the business is paying for it. It has nothing to do with his personal finances. But again, financial literacy for the rest of America doesn't get it. And there is a gap.
There's a big gap.
90% of people live this way.
Which is sad because the information's never been easier. Never been easier. It's just like I said, you have to make the honest struggle of like, hey, I don't want to.
Right.
I think like, I mean, you know, like I see pictures of like, I think it's with everything. You see pictures of like back in the 50s, everyone was like kind of in shape or whatever. But back then you couldn't just drive.
Or they were hungry. I don't know.
Or that or too. But like you could just never drive through fast food. That wasn't an option. Now it's like I could just like quick enjoyment or quick satisfaction. Like that's the thing is like to get your credit right, it's gonna take time. To be successful, it's gonna take time. To make a lot of money, it's gonna like how many people I've seen come into my space and been like, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, bro, like 87% of agents don't make it past their first year. Why do you think you're going to be the 13%?
Right.
Like, seriously.
My goal for all the agents is when they have a client, I want all their clients to come with their pre-qual letters already. Because what it's doing is it's putting you guys in a position to have to show listings, show houses, do this, do that. And they're not even qualified.
I know.
They were just living a dream, and they put you together thinking that they can afford this house, but they don't even know where they're at with their credit. That's why I have realtors sending me business because they know I'm going to send you your client once he's ready.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year, who knows? But that's your client who's well qualified to buy any house that they can afford, right? Not because they got the 800, they could go buy that $800,000 home. Their finances have to be in line.
I think that should be honestly. I really wish if I ever run for anything, I want to make it a law where you cannot show someone a house without a pre-qualified letter.
That's important.
I don't understand why that is not a law. Where you, as an agent, cannot show someone a house. You can still do open houses if that's when they want to, but to go and show someone a house, you have to literally show a pre-qual letter. And I think it comes down to agents because, like, obviously, if you're selling like higher end properties, everyone asks for a pre-qual letter. It's like it should just be standard.
Right.
You are not allowed to show a house without a pre-qual letter.
I think the best way is going to have to be governed by self. Right?
Exactly.
So where you set your bar at in your sales ways, your strategies of how you talk to clients, you might be a very busy realtor, and you got to tell them, hey, man,
I don't got time.
You bring me your, we got to rephrase that and say, give me your pre-qual letter. I'll show you the homes as soon as you bring that because we want to show the seller you're ready to rock and roll and put that offer in, which it's true.
It's true.
It's
or
so true.
It's like I tell people this, it's like, okay, great. Well, if you love this house, you might lose it because you're getting your paperwork to a lender. It doesn't automatically just happen. So it's like we need to do these steps first or use a line like, hey, I don't want to show you something that doesn't fit your budget and then you get your hopes up and then it hurts your – but I think it goes back to – but I also think like the hard part is like our industry is very and you deal with them is very lack of professionalism and like structure and like –
It's good money.
It's good money.
So a lot of people – who maybe not have some type of ethics in certain areas, they get into the business. Same thing like the car business.
Oh, for sure.
Same thing in a lot of industries where they're doing it for the money. But the good thing about that is we live in a new world, which you're very in tune with this. Is all of that's going away.
100%.
It's about your service. It's about your information, and it's about how you treat people.
Well, and you're competing against so many people now. You're not just competing against like the people that last knocked on your door, or like I said, like in the car, I emailed every dealership. This is the car I'm looking for. Like, who has it? Like, I didn't just walk into a dealership one day and be like, hey, let me see what car. Like, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. This is because it went down to this is a business decision, not a joy, not a, well, does this car make me feel happy? It's like, this is something I need for tax reason. I need it to be 6,000 pounds. I need it to be this much. I need it. It could narrow it down.
With you explaining that, I don't think people still wrap their heads around when you're doing well in life, you're working hard in life, you're put yourself in a position in life, you've got your credit in line, you've got your business in line. These perks that come with lifestyle is you have to do it because now you have no choice.
You have no choice.
So it comes with it, and everybody's thinking it's that whole rapper dream. It's that whole, I come from this and I'm going to have all that. No, you got to build towards that. You weren't born like that.
No.
It came as you put in the work. And so that's what I do for the agents. The agents send me all their clients where they know they don't have a pre-qual letter. I kind of prep them, coach them up, and I tell them, hey, you're going to need some help. before you even start looking at a home, I already tell them the truth. It's going to be about a year.
Yeah.
Don't worry about a recession. Don't worry about rates. Don't worry. Fix yourself. As soon as we get them fixed, now you're no longer wasting time and get back to the things you do best, which is obviously provide a great service.
I mean, I think it goes back to, like, I think distraction. I think more people are worried about everything else is going wrong, and it doesn't allow them to focus on themselves, like getting their credit right, getting their money right, getting their income right, like getting those things right. Like, you know, like I said, like I tell a lot of people, it's like, dude, I don't know how some people afford, like, you know what I mean? It's like you're gonna barely survive for your whole life if you're only making $50,000 you're living in Southern California. Like, how do you even survive?
We saw an increase during the pandemic of people's credit getting better because people actually focus. I think it was 35% of people started focusing on themselves and saying, I'm going to do something better while I'm at home all day. I'm going to start fixing my credit, and I'm going to start leveling up my mindset. So there was an increase. You could read this. You can Google it. And people all of a sudden had maybe 650s, 700s. I don't know where borrowing power became good now. But that's what I'm telling people is about to happen again. If there is this recession looming, or if we're in it, whatever you want to call it, now's the time. Put your head down and start fixing yourself up. So if there is a crash, now you got great credit, and now you're going to be able to buy that house you keep talking about and get in and stop wasting time.
Well, that's the thing, too. The banks are going to be like, everyone's on edge. So the biggest thing is they're only going to trust the people that are proven. That's what people don't get. They're only going to give money to the people they trust.
Right. And you want to talk about trust and control, check this out. So there's a new FICO 10T, they call it. And that's your 10 trending. So it's trade lines, each thing on your credit report that's trending for the last 24 months. It's a snapshot. This is where you were with this credit card. This is where you were then. This is how high it was. Right now, all they see is you've made your payments on time for 24 months. But what they're going to do is snapshot for 24 months of what your credit really looks like. So if you wait to do credit repair next year, and this is already in place, they're just waiting for a lot of the financial institutions to adopt the system. Some banks are using it. If you wait to repair your credit, they're going to see, no, just about 6 months ago your credit was at 500, now you're at a 700. What went wrong there? Your borrowing this way strategies are not good, so they're not going to trust you. But if you start now, before everybody adopts the new 10T, then obviously you're looking good for 24 months. But the longer you wait, I mean, that's control to the next level that these banks are going to have.
Oh, and for sure. And that's the thing, is like everything with technology, they're going to get even more deep, and they're going to more things and more like.
Right. And they can't rely on these technologies like Credit Karma.
Yeah.
It's your Vantage score. It's called a scoring model, right? That just shows you a Vantage, which is, I call it like a brush of your credit. But it's not your solid FICO score. You got to go to Experian, download that app, and know your real score. If you want to see all your scores, the different scoring models, you got to download the app MyFICO. MyFICO app gives you your buying power for homes, which is the real estate, the credit cards, autos, boats. I mean, you name it. There's different scoring models. And now the new one again is 10T. That just came out about a year ago. But the banks haven't fully adopted it. But that's when everybody's going to be in trouble.
When they really can go deep. Why does, I mean, this is an answer you could put. I always wonder, why does it hurt us to pull our credit? Why every time like you go to the car dealership, like why does it hurt to get our credit pulled? Because it's showing that we're trying to borrow more money, or?
So again, it's going to come down to behavior patterns.
Okay.
Right? So they know that if you're out there running your credit, then you're no longer good in the sense that you want to borrow all this money. Why? What are you going through financial hardship? So it just raises red flags. But why it dings your credit is because it's a hard pull where the institution wants to see exactly where you're at, right? What's on your credit report. But the most important thing is to do it every 6 months. And it doesn't count after exactly 12 months to 18 months anymore. That actual inquiry no longer impacts your FICO. But when you're running it constantly, especially if you go to a dealership, which they're infamous for it, you don't run your credit the first shot. You gotta negotiate with them and tell them, don't run my credit. You have to tell them, don't touch it. But you better know where you're at in your FICO, right?
Yeah.
Tell them I'm at 750 or 800. The reason why is because they're going to shoot it to all the banks, and each one is going to be an inquiry, and that's going to drop your score.
So that's why car dealerships are the worst.
They're the worst, and if you're going to buy a home, it's going to also be the same thing if you go to a broker, right? Not a direct lender, but a broker. If you don't go straight to Wells or Chase and you're using a broker, he has no choice but to shop you to different mortgage companies, different banks. So you have to be prepared that you're going to have those inquiries. There's nothing wrong with inquiries. But if you're constantly doing it, that shows poor behavior to the institutions.
Got it. I've always wondered that.
It's every 6 months I tell people, get a new credit card, go ahead and run your credit, but you do not want to show that kind of behavior. Looks like you're desperate, in other words.
You know, I started doing that. I got a lesson from a guy named Kyle, who's a big-time real estate guy. He's like, every 6 months, I chop up my credit cards and get new ones. He goes, because I swear, he goes, I started doing that, and I was getting, like, emails from this stuff that I was paying $19 a month for. I didn't realize, or $25 a month, or $50 a month, and they weren't big enough for me to realize it. He goes, so you just chop all your cards, say, hey, I need all new cards, and then those companies will reach out to you, be like, hey, we try to run your card.
You're talking about subscription-based?
Yeah, like subscription-based things.
Right,
yeah,
like a Netflix.
Yeah, like a Netflix or stuff like that you kind of just forgot about that
Mm-hmm.
you started paying for. He's like, you'll be shocked how many things, especially in real estate, because it's like, oh, buy this program, buy that program, buy this program, and you're like, you don't realize that it's like, oh, buy it for $100, but then it's $5.99 a month to maintain it or whatever, you know? And then all of a sudden, you're like, I don't even use that anymore.
I talk to people about discipline.
Yeah.
It's just about discipline. So I have 14 credit cards. I don't have but maybe one credit card. I think there's 2 now with subscriptions only. And the subscriptions I have, I know what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
It's discipline. I don't need everything.
Yeah.
I don't even watch TV like
I don't
that,
watch TV.
Right? So when it comes down to all these credit cards and know what you're spending on, you won't have a bad problem. It's all habit. But where's your discipline?
I think the hard part is what most people feel is that they get in the hole and then they just want to put their head in the sand
Because they're too far.
They're too far deep, and then it just spirals out of control. And sooner or later, you're gonna have to say stop.
That's where I coach people, man.
Yeah.
Because to me, life is a sport.
Yeah.
If you've ever played sports, there's some people who you've played sports,
Yeah.
but there's people who haven't. At the end, life is a sport. Sure, you're going to put yourself in a hole. Sure, your credit's horrible. Sure, you have a bankruptcy, and we'll touch on bankruptcies, by the way. But you got to get yourself out. You got to fight. You got to get to the playoffs. You got to make it to the last World Series of life. But in order to do that, it's a constant battle. But isn't that what life should be?
Well, that's the thing. It's never easy.
It's
and
not.
I think that's what is crazy that I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you think it's easy? It only gets harder. You want to be successful?
Worse.
It gets worse.
It does.
Like, it gets worse. Like, it's because you're not just worrying about yourself now. Like, now it's like, I got 5 employees. I got this person. I got that person. Like, we better get this. And when something falls apart, when it affects more than just you and your family, and now you have 4 or 5 people relying on you, it is a scary thing.
Right.
You know?
And that's why a lot of the CEOs go bald.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm losing my hair myself.
And that's why I get so mad when people are like, oh, it shouldn't, like, you hear people be like, oh, well, CEOs make too much company. It's like, dude, in that company, if something really, really bad happens, they're the person that has to fix it.
Right. And it's not even so much that. It's once you have stuff, once you've amassed something, you're a target.
Yeah.
So the public wants you. Your family wants you. There's some people who have your bad interest
100%.
in mind. And people have to realize, again, back to the game, you want to be the MVP player. Everyone hates you.
Yeah.
That's on your own team.
Yeah, I know.
Because they want the spotlight. So those that want to become successful, rich, wealthy, call it what you want, they better be ready.
Yeah, I think it's something that you don't realize how things change. You know what I mean? And like I saw this guy named Alex Amoli said, he's like, people who talk shit are always below you because the people above you aren't even thinking about you.
No.
They don't even process you.
They're too busy.
They're busy.
And the people that are at the top together, they don't really mess with each other like that.
No,
they don't,
because it's a big respect game.
Right.
You know what I mean? They've realized the game because they've already made it. So they realize like, okay, I'm making it, you're making it, you're making it, you're making it. Okay, we all got enough space here. We got this. Like it's all good.
The only competition you see at the top is who's got the bigger trophy.
Yeah.
Right. Or who's building the bigger rocket.
That's
Elon
really
and
what,
Musk and Bezos is who's building the bigger rocket to get to space. But that's what life is. You got to compete. You got to fight. You got to know that you fell. You ruined your credit. You ruined something. You ruined a relationship. You get yourself out of it. The victory tastes that much sweeter. And you gotta pay to play. Yeah. Sometimes you need to pay for a service to get you there. Sometimes you gotta pay that agent to sell that house fast for you. Give him his cut. Yeah. Everybody's working together, but everybody wants to be tight at the pocket, not realizing it's not a spending problem. It's not. It's your.
You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
It's an income problem. You'll never be rich just by saving money.
They have to level up, man.
You got to level up. So what do you feel about bankruptcies?
So bankruptcies, man, it's not even supposed to be on your credit report.
Really?
People don't know that. Even the attorneys who are filing bankruptcies for you, they're not the ones putting it on your credit reports, nor are the courts who file the actual bankruptcy. It is public information, but there's this, if you want to call them a third-party bureau, they're called PACER.
Okay.
PACER is where everybody goes and checks who's got bankruptcies in what court and what's their name. That bankruptcy got placed onto there because PACER gave that information to the 3 bureaus. Now, why should that be on your credit report? Because it dings it, according to the bureaus. Who pays them again? Central banks.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a bankruptcy if you have one on your credit report. As soon as it's discharged, all we do is we send to the courthouse a verifiable letter saying, did you send this to the bureaus? They send a letter back stamped from the courthouse that you filed your bankruptcy at. We didn't send this to the bureaus. We don't do that. You send that to the 3 bureaus to remove that bankruptcy instantly. You no longer have a bankruptcy. This is all legal. What's illegal is for that to be reporting same thing as medical bills.
Oh, really?
Because of the HIPAA laws.
Got it.
So a collection agency or a third-party company, aside from the hospital having your medical records, reporting that debt, they must have your chart or they must have some personal information of your chart when you were in the hospital. So therefore, per the laws, they shouldn't have that information. So therefore, those medical bills shouldn't also be in your credit report. So those 2 are the biggest factors that people don't realize. When they get their credit pulled, they're like, oh man, I have medical bills I didn't even know. They never told them either.
Yeah.
The hospital just sent it to their in-house collection agency. Now it's on your credit report. Doesn't belong there. And then the bankruptcy doesn't belong there as long as it's discharged. So that's one of the things we do as well. We make sure that's off of there once it's discharged.
Yeah. So what's the process of like working for you? Why don't you run it down? How does it work when someone comes to you to get their credit fixed or coached?
The first thing is we need to see where their credit's at, right? What is on there? What type of collections? What type of charge-offs? We look at dates. Okay, first we want to check if all 3 bureaus align up, because if not, there's some violations there. Even if it's still a current account, an account that just went into collections, we have to check that the variations are correct, have the bureaus updated correctly, and if they don't, well, they have to remove it. The next step would be checking the statute of limitations. Do you really owe this? And if you do, let's get that settled out for the 1%, 3%. The next step would be collections and charge-offs. Let's talk to those collection agencies, see if they can verify that you owe this. If they can't provide us anything, then we have to report that to the CFPB if the 3 bureaus don't remove that, because it was non-verifiable.
Got it.
So you start cleaning that up. That process takes every 35, 45 days. So your credit overnight when you first come, we can't do it in 30 days.
Yeah.
Nor 45 days because we're waiting for responses.
It takes forever too.
It does. Let's just be honest. Sometimes these bureaus also are doing stall tactic letters.
Yeah.
So they stall out by sending, we know you're trying to get your credit cleaned by a third-party company now. We cannot do this process. It's called a stall tactic. They know they have to actually abide by the request that you now have sent. Because your signature's at the bottom of that letter you sent to the bureaus. Now they have to respond. If they don't respond, then we get the CFPB involved, which is the government.
Yeah.
And Consumer Federal Protection Bureau. So we get them involved. They slap the bureaus around.
Yeah.
So it's a simple process when it comes to the guidelines of how to do it. But it's the time that it's going to take you. You can't think you're about to go buy your car and your house in 30 days. It's not supposed to be overnight.
I think that's the problem too. I think the Amazon effect has gotten people. I swear, I feel a big difference from 2016 when I first started doing this to now. Like every client wants everything like now, and it's like, dude, that's not how it works. Like,
no,
we go here, they gotta check with people, then I gotta come back. Like it's the instant Amazon. It gets here in 2 days is not. It just takes time.
Who's responsible for this originally?
Yeah.
Why have they made the construct to have everybody on impulse, have everybody on edge, and having them consume caffeine all day long, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be making the most money. I wonder why. And then all you're doing is scrolling all day. I mean, if you observe people, anywhere they're at, they have this impulse to
grab their phone.
And I get it. It's a crutch, or call it makes me feel safe. It's my blankie. Or just call it that your mind is needing to see some info, which is a good thing. But you're not using it for the right. Humans are smart.
I know.
We're great. We're intelligent. The neurons are firing, but they're just wasting their time in certain areas they shouldn't be focused on.
Well, and the crazy thing what people don't get about algorithm is the algorithm is whatever they think that you want to see, and you're proving that you want to see the things that you're looking at because you stay on those platforms longer. So it's like if every time you go on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, it's things that are not bringing value to your life, you're the reason why it's there
Right.
because you're still watching it,
Right.
right? Like it's like stop liking that stuff. Start going out of your way and liking things that you need, positive things. Like
Right.
if you know you cannot control yourself and being on the platforms,
Mm-hmm.
then realize what's on the platform is actually bringing benefit to you.
It's funny to that you say that because if somebody opens up their IG to me and they go to their search, you see in those little I'm like, I don't want to see what you've been looking at, dude, because it shows you everything. The AI is real.
Dude, it's aggressive. I laugh. I that's like my big my big thing is like my Explorer page on Instagram is literally like corgis, which are my dogs, golf, and real estate. I'm like, this is all I'm into.
Right.
This is it. Like,
Right.
because I go out of my way to like, and the algorithm, dude, they're not stupid.
No.
The algorithm will always throw up in there every time. We'll throw up like one photo or video of a girl.
Right.
And a very hot girl.
Right.
Just wanting you to click on that.
Right.
To get going into that out. It's like,
Right.
that's why TikTok does so well. It's like, dude, it's like, you know what I mean?
I think the picture's much bigger, right?
Yeah.
If people understood why are they doing this to us, nobody wants to stop and think about that because they're just too busy in their own life. But if you stop and think of humanity, whoever they keep saying is at the top, why do they need us to be focused on certain things? Well, first understand the anatomy of man, right? What attracts men all the time? What do they need to see?
Yeah, women, money, clothes, cars.
Right.
Yeah, they just
And why, when they watch a sporting event, do they have to show alcohol all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
So they bombard us constantly as men, that kind of stuff. But why did it all start? Is there really a control factor? Is there really a reason that they have us let me just keep focusing on my off time on these girls or this cars or this money stuff? I mean, obviously there's something in play. So is it true there's a matrix when you think about it? Is there, or is that too far of thinking?
I just think it's human nature is very controllable, and they've cracked the code of humans.
Right. So now if you started a business yourself and you started to understand the code yourself of people, and you started to use certain algorithms of these apps and said, hey, people actually like these things. Let me start a business and start advertising with these social platforms.
Yeah.
No longer become a little hamster in this wheel. Let me start targeting these people. That's what I've done.
Yeah.
I said, I know where people actually lack certain areas. I also know what they like to see. I know information is key. Well, let me utilize these platforms because they did half the battle. Facebook got everybody's information, Instagram as well. You voluntarily gave them where you went to school, everything. We all know this now. So that's what it was for originally now, is for commerce, right? They took it from newspaper, from just TV ads to now let's just hit them all day long and make millions off of them.
I feel like Carl's Jr. was the first one when they came out with those hamburgers and they only had hot chicks with it. I was like, that was like, I think like Tata moment. It's like they were like the first like. What were we even talking? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were the part. Like, this is what people's gonna watch TV, watch a commercial. Who cares about the hamburger?
Right.
You know.
Well, what's funny is certain areas of advertisement. McDonald's was so innocent. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
It was the characters.
Yeah.
They drew all the kids. Why they draw the kids first?
Because that draws them in, and then it leads them in the
The parents will go spend money.
And then you get
on the Happy Meal.
and then you get addicted to that, and
right.
then and then it's an ongoing trend, and then it becomes the norm where it's like, well, I've had McDonald's my whole life. So then I'll have kids and we'll go to McDonald's.
Right. It becomes tradition.
It's tradition.
Marketing, branding. And so my whole point to that is I actually like the tools in place. As long as I've escaped that matrix, now let me benefit off of it as well.
That happened to me during COVID. I would, like, right when it got shut down, I was, like, getting really into, like, on YouTube, like, at the house because I don't have cable. And, like, I would have to cancel my account and I'd create a new Gmail account because the algorithm got so bad for me on negative talk about COVID that I was like, every time I was going on there, it was like the same thing. And I couldn't leave my house. So then I was like, I created new email addresses to restart the algorithm because, like, I could tell it was affecting me. And that's the thing. Like, if you do not realize that you are stuck in the algorithm, you got to figure out a way. And the only way to really get it is start over.
Right. You have to. And to the point of understanding, if people can break out of this matrix, understand themselves, you got to realize even the political parties do it.
100%.
When you're running for president, they're bombarding, right? Each is paying millions of dollars for advertisement to get the minds of the left or the right, like even in that area.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard for people to understand that, dude, you are being sucked in and being a part of the pool of profit.
Yeah.
And if you don't break out of that and say, I'm going to play with the big guys too, instead of just wishing and wanting, it all goes back to, again, what's your behavior pattern?
Yeah.
If I look at your credit, I know what you're watching.
Yeah.
I know exactly what a person does based on looking at their profile. So now I look at it the way the banks do. But once you see that, then you see their spending habits. Now I know you got a bunch of subscriptions because I see that same
or that $900 credit card or the $900 car payment, and you only make $2,000 a month.
It was so sad
because you had to have that leased BMW 3 Series.
Right. So hopefully the narrative, I think maybe another 10% have grown out of that mindset. We know that a lot of influencers were talking about, why do you need that car? You know, they promote it very well. That's true. You don't need the stuff unless you have to get the stuff, like your situation. That's a beautiful problem to have.
It is a good problem to have.
And if you didn't go get that lease, you were in bigger trouble. You have to write that check.
And I'd rather write a check for myself than the government.
And that's what this life is about, man. And that's why we're doing this today. Is we need to level up humanity, man. And that's really my goal.
And I think nowadays it's so easy for us, but people have to be loud and get out there.
Right.
And we were talking earlier, it's like, you know a skill, and if you don't want to promote it and give it out in this world, you're doing a disservice to this world.
Right. Right.
Because that is a job as a human, is to empower other people based on what you've learned. And that's the only way we know what we know today is from the people before us teaching us.
And so I look at people in that regard. If someone encountered me, did they benefit from me? Not took advantage of me, benefited. Was our conversation beneficial to either one of us? So I don't go to family functions. I go to certain parties. I don't do nothing that's not going to benefit us or level me up here. So I don't have mundane conversations with people.
There's no reason to. People used to get mad at me because I wouldn't meet with people. They're like, hey, we should meet. I'm like, no. And they're like, I have 3 rules. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, we're friends. I'll meet with you. I want to do business with you. Not you're going to do business with me. I want to do business with you, and when I was single, babe, or I want to date you. That was the only 3 reasons. If you did not fit in those 3 reasons, why am I having this conversation with you? You're trying to get something out of me. Like you're trying to you're trying to sell me on something that I don't want. And that's cut down on having meetings with people I don't want to have meetings with.
The stuff we're talking about is so important, and people might say it has nothing to do with credit. It sure does.
Everything has to do.
Because at that social party you're going to do this weekend with your family members alone, did they repeat the same things they did last weekend? Did they ask you the same questions they did last weekend how was your week again? We already know. Or what'd you do last?
Or did you see the game?
Right. That is not going to benefit us, man. And it's not going to level us up. How about if us family members talk about, man, how can we put some money together to go get an apartment complex? I know not everybody wants to talk about it, but they're always thinking about it. In their personal time, they do want to level up. They just feel ashamed to have to bring it up.
Ask, or they're embarrassed, or you know what I mean? It's like borrowing money. It's like,
people trip out because I don't drink.
Yeah.
I don't smoke. I don't do drugs.
Yeah.
0. Okay?
I wish I didn't drink sometimes.
I do nothing, dude. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And so they say, so not even 1 beer? I go, look, if I'm going to have a beer with you, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
For sure. You can call it the game, the girls, the problems.
Yeah.
I don't need to tranquilize myself either at all. So I used to drink heavy, but it's been 8 years now, 7 years, 8 years.
I'll tell you what, it is everyone says they could stop drinking, but it's very difficult to stop drinking.
Rough.
It is very hard.
Bad.
It's hard.
It's bad.
I've talked to myself multiple times, like, I need to stop drinking. And then it's like, hey, we're going to this networking event. Hey, we're going to do this. And it's just like, you just get into, it's like, it's very hard. The one thing I will say, I don't drink at my house. Like that is a thing.
That's
that,
awesome.
Like I have no desire to be in my house.
Sure.
I have no alcohol in my house. I have no desire to drink in my house.
Right.
Like for me, it's strictly going out. It's a going out thing.
Right.
But I know people that literally come home every day.
Yeah.
Straight to the fridge.
Right.
Throw a 6er down.
Right.
And that's what they do.
So it goes back to this. They're going to say, what does that have to do with credit? Why are you talking about drinking and credit? Because there's 2 ways to look at it. You're going to continuously go spend this money that you know you want to go buy a house. You want to go buy a car. You're just going to drink that beer. Where does it go immediately after 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's gone.
To the toilet.
Yeah.
You got to run to the restroom and pee out that money you just spent. Okay, let's go to the club. So we go to the club, no problem. We get bottle service. What did you just use to pay for that?
No, thank you.
You used your credit card.
Yeah.
And now that same exact experience you paid for, because that's what you say you do it for, because you want to impress people or get the girls, whatever it is, I don't care. You use your little credit card. Now you know you're like, damn, I just spent $500. Call it $200.
Yeah.
But now you got to pay your hard-earned money for that. The club owner's happy with you. Hopefully you tipped your waiter.
Yeah.
But now your friends are like, cool, bro, thanks for the experience. But now you're left with the bill yourself.
Yeah.
So what if you got money, but why are you pissing your money down?
Well, and the perfect example is look at any athlete.
Right.
That they're, what is it? I don't know what the stats are, but like whatever, bankrupt after 5 years out of the league because they never they never invested their money. I actually saw an article on Shaq the other day. Shaq would live on like 25% of his income, and he went out and bought like houses and car washes and business.
Correct.
And he's worth like $400 million now, or $500 million, something like that. And it's like, he's like, I didn't need, because he goes, I learned really quickly. He goes, I remember hearing the story. He's like, I spent my $1 million signing bonus in one day.
Right.
He's like, I bought myself a car, and then I went home, and they're like, but your dad needs a car. I went out and bought the same car for my dad.
Right.
He goes, that was $200,000 each. I was $400 plus taxes. I was done. He goes, the best move I ever met. He's like, I met this small white CPA dude, and he was like, you want to get your money right?
Right.
Like, let me deal with it.
Right.
And now he's worth half a billion.
So the schools teach you to be an employee.
Yeah.
We know this.
100%.
That's why they're not going to teach you how to level up and how to get your credit up. So they teach you how to be an employee, not a business owner. For 12 years, they stretch out this beautiful curriculum they've come up with for free for you to come learn. Nothing's free, but they programmed you. So now you get this job once you graduate. You're living check to check, and all you know is that you're supposed to spend that whole check of your mundane job on your bills and some playtime and some whatever time. But the rich know one thing in the elite: you have to live off of 30%.
Yeah,
30%. But if you can do obviously 20, 25, golden.
But then it goes back to, you got to increase the income.
You got to increase your income.
And that's what I tell people all the time. They're like, oh, if I only made 50, you'll spend it.
Right.
Literally, you will spend it. So he's like, you have to be so disciplined to not spend it, because you will spend it.
Right.
It's never enough.
That's part of the coaching program I do, man. I talk to them about their credit, but I tell them, look at how you're spending on this card because you don't have money coming in. So you think this is free money? It's ruining your credit. Let's get your credit right. Lower the bills and the expenses. Cut all those subscriptions, right? Do all these things to your cost of living should be this small. Now let's do this for a year. Watch what happens.
And then too, that my thing is, like, I always think about is like, when I'm 60, like if I'm still having to work at 60 years old or 65 or 70, it's like, dude, it's like your Social Security is not going to be great. Might not even be around by the time we get there. It's like, dude, what are you going to do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's a scheme, the Social Security,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
401k. We all understand that now. So what are we really going to do in this new generation, this new era, as those tools go away, if they don't even know how to use them properly, then we're really screwed. If you're really not doing commerce for yourself.
Yeah.
Or at least saving or doing whatever investments you got to do. At the end of the day, we all know that it's real estate.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to come on here.
Yeah, no, it is
real estate guy.
Yeah,
man.
it's real estate. I mean, like, you know, for me, like, for me, it's all I focus on is on incoming money every single month. It's like, you know, I always tell people all the time, how do you make money? A goal of mine is always like, how do you make money when houses don't sell? Like, that's all I focus on.
Right.
How will I make money if a house will never sell?
That's right.
Because, like, sooner or later, I want to stop selling houses.
Right.
When I'm, however age that is, well, how am I going to make money every single month without selling houses? And I think that's the problem, is that people don't process, like, sooner or later you will have to stop working.
Right.
How are you going to survive on that?
You've been doing this for a while. Every time you see a client, what's one of the things that disturbs you about the buyer?
A buyer?
Yeah, one thing.
I think the issue about buyers is they think they actually treat their homes as an asset, and they don't realize it's a liability.
Yeah.
And I try to explain that to people, and I'm like, this house is not an asset. It's not an asset until you sell it.
That's
I said
it.
It's a liability this whole time because it costs you money. It doesn't bring in
Yes.
you income. And I said, stop pretending like you care what's going on in the market, because, and I said, this is a perfect example. Prices have never been higher, and no one's selling. Why? Where am I going to go, Adam? I like my low interest rate. I like this. So it's like, you're not treating this like an asset. You are treating it like the place you live. So stop acting like you're Warren Buffett. Stop acting like you're some big time real estate mogul. You're not.
Right.
You're just trying. It's a place for you to live.
Right.
Like, and if it makes you happy,
Right.
you won't leave.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's my, like right now, the market's crashing. I'm like, dude, you were about to write 50,000 above asking price, waive everything. You're going to come out of pocket. You're going to waive all appraisal, all everything. And now, because interest rates are 2.5%, but now that they're 6.5%, you're like, and you could get houses 5 to 10% below market value, closing costs. Nah, man, I'm going to wait. What? Because it's all the sheep mentality. It's like, every person you listen to is successful, they want a recession. A recession is necessary in a market. And what people don't understand, a recession is necessary because everyone who's gotten fat over the years, the recession hits, it weans everyone out that shouldn't be around.
Correct.
And the strong survive it. And then that makes them even stronger in the back end.
And that's for every market.
That's for everything.
Because even a realtor, when they get in and they saw it was hot for the last few years, well, I'm going to get my real estate license, they get in. As soon as this happens, only the strong make it.
Well, and
all
it's
the way
mentally.
Through. Mentally.
It's mentally. It is. Can you go work at open house every weekend and no one shows up?
Right.
I can.
Right.
And that's putting out all your signs and getting there, and then you sit there for 3 hours and not one person walks in. And then do you have the stones to call your seller and be like, no one came in, this is what's going on, this is where rates are at, this is what we need to do, this is, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then being able to ease everyone's mind, like, it's okay. Things aren't, we've only been on the market 3 weeks. We're going to, you know what I mean?
Right.
Nothing's selling in the area. So it's just, it's just, I think, so going back to it, stop acting like you're treating your house as an asset because that's what you saw on TikTok.
I think they need to get back to discipline within themselves, right?
100%.
What are they listening to? What are they looking at?
Oh, dude.
Where do they really want to be? And not be where their friends are or be what they saw on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I do like nice cars, man.
I do love nice cars.
I do want a Lambo.
I do want a Lambo.
Right.
No, I don't know if I'd Lambo. I want a McLaren because no one really has McLarens.
Right.
Because
McLaren.
it would just be different.
Right.
Because I know someone owns a Lambo in Riverside and a Ferrari. I haven't seen a McLaren. But for me, I also know that it'll only last for so long.
Right.
And that joy will go away sooner or later.
And here's why I said that. Because right now, obviously, this is going to be in the internet, right?
Yeah.
I don't care that I'm driving a paid-off Honda Civic 2017.
No!
Bro, you're not paying my bills.
100%.
And the houses that I'm about to buy, you're not going to pay for them either. So I don't want a Lambo just yet. Can I afford it? Of course.
Yeah.
I can go get a McLaren.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, everybody that knows me, they're like, dude, you're still looking? And I was like, well, yeah, the market is so stupid. That's why I'm not going to go buy one.
100%. Right. I could go buy that thing.
Now, I should have pulled the trigger on the Lambo, the Huracan. It was 180.
Oh.
This was 2019. My buddy was selling it at his dealership. Now COVID happened, they dipped a bit, and then it shot up.
Dude.
The lowest one you'll find is 2016 for 229, 259.
Dude,
why?
I know.
Right?
It's like I said, we're talking about like when G-Wagons are like 150K.
Right.
Who would pay for that?
Dude.
Literally, I was like, who? And I asked the guy, I was like, have you sold? He's like, I sold like one a week.
Mm-hmm.
I go, who the heck's paying $150,000 above sticker price on a car?
Right.
That's insane.
And
that's stupid.
And my discipline is this again: either unless my CPA tells me, like he told you, to go get that car because you have no choice, or I know that this asset will make the car payment for me, I don't deserve to go get that car.
Agree.
I am not about to spend my hard-earned money on that damn note that the bank's going to benefit off me
because
off the interest.
It sucks.
Dude.
It does suck.
$3,000 for
I don't care who.
Lambo.
I don't care who. As that bill comes in, you go.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, behind closed doors, you're like, damn it, right?
Yeah.
This is why you got to level up as a man. You have to make minimum 10 grand. I tell every guy I talk to, you should be taking home net 10 grand a month.
Dude, that's. I mean,
you have to. It's a solid number.
Like my goal is 100,000 a month.
Sure.
I haven't hit it yet. I've hit 100 grand one time in my career, but like for me, it's like how I look at it is if I'm making 100,000 a month, what are the moves I can make?
Correct.
To really make moves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't think my overhead will. I'm responsible. My overhead will stay the same, right? So it's like cool. Now I got like 80 G's every month that I can go play with.
Right.
I can go buy tons of stuff out in Tennessee
exactly.
for 80 grand a
Texas,
month. Tennessee, and I could get that $600 a month check.
Yes.
There's no better. If
People don't get it.
If you have never received passive income, it is the greatest thing to open in the mailbox. And that's, I never thought about it. That's the difference between when you're getting mail where there's checks that you're not doing anything for compared to when you're going to the mailbox and it's bills. It's two different worlds.
So all of America got to experience it all at once together.
Yes.
When they got that $1,400 check. If you like how that felt,
do it every month.
You can do that every month. Yeah. And I said when I started that is $10,000 minimum a man should be making just to survive and have provide for his family.
A good life.
But you should shoot as a man 100 grand a month. That's my target too.
Yeah.
And if you want to be an elite, then you should be shooting at 100 million.
Yeah.
You should, because I guess at this point in our lifetime, it's available.
It is.
With all of these
That's the other thing too, is money is so, that's the thing too, is we think $10 million, $20 million, $50 million. Right. Dude, money is so easy to get. I mean, I think it's wrapping the mind around oh, I could have $10 million one day.
Yes. It's easier now to say, man.
Exactly, because you can see it more.
Yes. And this is why I tell everybody in the older generations, you cannot say nothing about these millennials or this generation. they have the tools and the resources, and they will become more successful than the past generations.
100%.
I think they know that and they feel it, so they probably feel a little angry. They don't know how to adapt to this. But this is the greatest era, obviously, to be alive, because you can have your home-based business and you can have cash flow coming in, man, and you ain't got to go anywhere. I mean, we have a beautiful office.
Thank you.
But you don't even have to be here if you don't want to.
No.
You already know that.
No, and I think the thing is this whole office was an ego thing, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I literally left my company. I was like, where am I going that I could say this is where but now this place I don't need anymore. I've outgrown, and now it's time to be like, all right, I'm tired of paying someone's lease.
Right.
Now I'm going to go buy a building.
See what I'm saying? You
And
leveled up.
Leveled up. So it was like this was a stepping stone. And I think that's the other thing too. Like we're going back to way back in the beginning of the podcast about like building a team. Sometimes you just got to realize 2022 to 2023 is going to be a rebuild.
Right.
It's a rebuild year. Like I'm not going to crush my numbers I did before. This is just a rebuild year. I'm going to take the steps to be like, hey, this year I'm going to fix your credit.
That's it.
2023 is a rebuild year for me. Then we'll go after things in the next year. And that's okay. If you worship sports and you know your team has to do a rebuild year, you also got to realize you need to do a rebuild year.
Right.
It's all the same thing.
We all have to. Companies do it. What are they doing when Elon bought Twitter? He had to rebuild. He fired
half the people.
And people think that that's a bad thing. No, it's a great thing. The economy does the same thing. That's what you said. A recession is important for that particular reason. You have to downsize, then you have to build again. It's just part of seasons and nature in life.
And you can't. It's just what's going to happen.
Right.
And there's no perfect world. There's no socialism, not communism, none of that. All that stuff. It is literally, as much as people want to talk crap on how we do things here, it does work. And I think that our bigger issue is just teaching people
itself.
The game. Yeah.
We are the problem.
We are the problem.
One is the problem.
Yes.
My wife corrected me and said, stop saying we and stop saying you. It's one.
Yeah.
The person. So I'm going to start using that as much as possible. So I put it out there now. But one needs to make that choice that it is me. So the construct's the construct. I got to be the player in the game.
Yeah.
So
and then you got to be around the people when you talk about playing the game, they don't think you're crazy. Right. They also understand the game, and they're also trying to figure out the game too.
They know they're in a game.
You know what I mean? And there's not like, dude, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or that's impossible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's you versus you, man.
100%.
And this is a real life video game. 100% really is.
I agree.
I know where I was then, and I know I'm not there anymore, and I know I'm here now, and I'm like, I'm not dead.
I agree.
I should have died 3 times ago, but there's a reason. So that's what I'm banking off of that every single day, waking up with that momentum, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This has been a great conversation,
Awesome.
man. Hill information will be in the description below if you need credit repair. Guys, I want people to realize there's a lot of bad people out there when it comes to credit repair because it's so easy to scam people. We'll fix your credit, blah, blah. Like, I want to take away from this conversation is it's going to take time.
Yep.
If someone's telling you you're going to have it fixed in 30 days and they're not building a game plan that's going to take 6 to 8 to a year, you're probably with the wrong person.
Yes.
So just make sure that it's easy to get scammed because they'll lock you into a contract, charge you $34 a month like LA Fitness. And then you kind of forget about it. And then what sucks is then in 8 months your credit's still the same and you're starting over.
And I'm more like a realtor. I'm more like the service-based type of businesses. Yeah. I don't mind giving free knowledge. They text me. My clients text me, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? And I coach them all the way through. Yeah. This is what I love to do. This is why it's called GC Credit Coaches. Yeah. GC stands for my initials, Gonzalo Castillo. Yeah. Credit Coaches. I just coach you, man. The credit repair is just a bonus. Yeah. I just make sure that you start off right. And let's coach you up to a better life, man. So you can buy your house. You can hit up Adam and get your home. You know what I mean? For sure, and that's it. That's it. We're going to play the game. So thanks for, man. Appreciate you. Had a good time. Here. Until next time, guys. Peace. Yes.